Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another live stream. We are back, and once again, we are talking about this entire David Coote situation yet again. I'm getting sick of talking about it, in all honesty. But let's face it, it is the biggest story currently buzzing around the world of football right now. It is a huge, huge scandal that is obviously taking place before our very eyes, snowballing by the day, it seems, in incredible and phenomenal circumstances. But yet, it is the international break, so we are kind of struggling for any sort of real news story. And as I said in my video that I did yesterday, I firmly believe that this story has blown up to the epic proportions that it has because it's the international break. If this dropped during a normal week, yes, it would be huge. Yes, it would be a scandal. Yes, there would be a lot of talking about it. But because there's no other story to sort of overshadow it, I reckon this is obviously taking center stage and is going to be taking the spotlight for at least the next week or so before club football does start to get back on the agenda. What's obviously come out in the last 24 hours or so has been nothing short of incredible, to say the least, anyway. We've, of course, got another video that has surfaced of David Coote seemingly snorting a white powdered substance. We can all hazard a guess at maybe what that is. He's seemingly done that. He's seemingly done that during the past summer and during his officiating of the European Championships. He was a referee or a match day official during that time, and he seemingly did that during that time, not actually on the pitch. He hasn't done like a Robbie Fowler kind of thing, but he obviously did that when he was away from officiating, but still during that period of time, it seems. It really does seem like someone is out to really ruin this guy. The videos that have surfaced are potentially career-ending. They've at least ended his reign as a Premier League referee, in my personal opinion. But, you know, whoever's had these videos for a long time and they've only just surfaced them, something has to have gone wrong between the two. There are allegations that allegedly he was being blackmailed with these videos. So clearly there's something going on in his personal life that wasn't sitting right with him whatsoever. And it's all come to a head. It's all come to a head. And maybe these actions are him crying out for help. Maybe these actions are him spiraling somewhat out of control. And then in the aftermath of this, who knows? This could be the making of a better David Coote. This could be the making of someone who will then look at himself and go, you know what? I did this mess. I created this mess. I'm going to get myself out of it. Or it could be a much more wallow in self-pity. But of course, yesterday's video revealing comes in the aftermath of the revealing of Monday's two videos, in which David Coote and a ex-friend of his, I would now assume, made a video talking about Liverpool, talking down to Liverpool, talking down to Jurgen Klopp, attacking Jurgen Klopp and his character. And then his friend ended the video with, "We hate Scousers." Now, maybe David Coote doesn't exactly echo those sort of views, but we don't know. We don't know for sure. The second video came out of him saying this video cannot obviously go anywhere between them two, anywhere outside of them two, and seemingly the person that they were sending it to, because why else are you recording said video? That's basically it in a nutshell. Obviously, if you want to go back and check out my previous two videos on that, you can do on the channel. I talked about it on Monday. I talked about it yesterday. But one thing that has been very strange to me, and I mentioned it yesterday, and it was very strange to me the way that the mainstream media and especially Sky have glazed over this. And it was interesting that the likes of Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville hadn't had their 2 cents on it yet. Didn't put their opinion in when everyone else was. Let's face it, every Tom, Dick, and Harry has thrown in their opinion on this matter, whether it be through social media, whether it be through videos, whether it be through live streams like this. Everybody's had their say on this situation, except the 2 people that you would expect to have their opinion on it and throw it in wherever they see fit. Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville. And it took them over 3 days to get their opinion on record. Over 3 days for that to happen. Carragher said yesterday in a reply to one Rebecca Arnold that he would put his opinion across in the recording of the Overlap podcast, which or Stick to Football podcast, or I can't remember what it was actually called now, and one of them two. That, of course, he films with Gary Neville on his YouTube channel. Ian Wright was there. Roy Keane was there. Jill Scott was there. He put his opinion on that. Gary Neville came out, did his had his viewpoint on it, in which he said he didn't really see what was in his words, David Coote's words, that were at all wrong or looked to have imposed any wrongdoing on Liverpool. He basically said he's called Jurgen Klopp the C word, which is very aggressive, but I didn't see anything within his words that told me he had influenced decisions in the wrong way, that he's been looking to do Liverpool over. And then, of course, in the release of the Overlap video today, he's, of course, elaborated a little bit more. Has it been enough? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the video. I think they only did about 20 minutes, maybe not even 20 minutes, maybe like 10, 15 minutes of the Overlap, focusing on the David Coote situation. And it wasn't even in the title of the video. You would think that the biggest story of the week, the biggest story of the international break, the biggest scandal that has hit Premier League refereeing for a very, very long time would probably be the main talking point of your video, of your podcast, of your title. And yet, no mention of David Coote is in the title. Instead, it is Roy's advice to Garnacho on going back on predictions. Stick to Football, episode 57. We're going to be talking a little bit about that as well. We're going to be talking a little bit about that as why it is very strange and why I don't think they went in hard enough, and I don't think they went in enough on this situation. But before we go any further in discussing all of that, I would like to remind you all to please like the video, like the live stream, subscribe if you're new. Both of them is always and forever greatly appreciated. Get involved in the chat. Get involved in the discussion. I would love to hear what each and every single one of you has to say on this. It is obviously going to make for very interesting and great reading, I'm sure. So please do get involved. Please do talk to me. And give me your opinion on what you think about this whole David Coote situation. Everybody and their dog has had their say on it. So it'll be interesting to know what you guys have to say on it as well. It would be great to hear from you all. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Let's talk David Coote. Let's talk PGMOL. Let's talk Premier League. Let's talk Gary Neville. Let's talk Jamie Carragher and everything else in between. Where to begin? So, like I say, I briefly put it in a nutshell. The videos that dropped on Monday, the video that dropped yesterday. David Coote's been suspended by UEFA, by the Premier League, by everybody that he basically works for, unfortunately for him. And it hasn't exactly been a great week for one David Coote. Everybody's had their say on this matter. I have. You can go back and check out my other 2 videos on it if you haven't already. I hope this is going to be the last one I kind of talk about it with. Unless, of course, there's a verdict, and obviously he is definitely going to be banned and fired from his role. In my opinion, they'll probably give him an opportunity to resign himself. He's likely to resign. They'll give him the opportunity. I can either fire you or you can resign. One of them two. But no, like it's been a crazy past few days in terms of this story snowballing and gathering momentum. Like I said, everybody's had their opinion on it. Everybody's had their say on this issue. And yet, the 2 people that everybody wanted to hear from was one Gary Neville and one Jamie Carragher. And the reason why, because it seemed like they were confused as to why everybody was trying to get their opinions on it. And the reason why is because if this was a club attacking the PGMOL, if this was a player, if this was a manager, if this was anybody that is not a referee attacking referees, officials, or the PGMOL itself, Sky and these 2 would have been the first one to come out and condemn it. They were when Liverpool put out a statement in regards to the whole Luis Diaz situation against Tottenham last season. They were there to condemn it when Arsenal called the PGMOL and their matchday officials into question last season as well. They were there when Wolves did it, when Nottingham Forest did it. They have called it into question, and they have been really, really protecting and being the sort of mouthpiece and the PR piece for the PGMOL and Howard freaking Webb. It's been incredible to watch them defend. And, you know, they probably defended the PGMOL better than they've ever defended in their career. And that's saying something, because they were both very, very good defenders. But the defense of the PGMOL and Howard Webb and referees has been nothing short of incredible from these 2 in particular and from Sky in general. They are so well protected. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how well protected they are. And especially on Sky, where every single week you got Mike Dean sat there watching the big game on a Sunday. Gary Neville asks him the question of what he thinks about a certain referee decision. Mike Dean gives his opinion and then very quickly changes his mind based on the direction of the wind, based on what the referee decides to give on the pitch. Even if the referee was initially right and the VAR was wrong, or whether it's vice versa, the referee is always right in Mike Dean's eyes. Mike Dean, whether he's wrong initially or not, will just change his mind based on the referee's opinion in order to protect his mate. And we know that because Mike Dean still refers to certain referees as colleagues, as mates. And as we know, VAR is not there to necessarily correct decisions, but more so to protect referees. How do we know that even more? By the way that Howard Webb has his own show on Sky in which he talks about certain decisions and backs them up. And backs up referees. And even if he has to criticize referees because sometimes their work is indefensible, he will still do it in the softest way. He will still do it in a way that's like, well, I know he's wrong, but you can understand why he's wrong. Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you're just wrong. You have to just accept it and move on. Accept it, apologize, say sorry, move on. Simple as that. But that's not how it works with Howard Webb. Howard Webb has to sit there and protect as much as he can the referees in a particular scenario. You only have to look at this past week in which he was talking about the Manchester United West Ham penalty, in which he basically was saying, oh, this referee is normally very good on VAR. He must have just had a bad day at the office, or whatever his stupid reply was. It was not the best of justifications for why the referee was wrong on that particular moment. But yeah, That's basically what happens. And I don't know if any other league has that kind of thing happen. I don't know if the head of the German governing body of refereeing has a show with, I don't know, a former German former German player. Let's put one out there randomly. Michael Ballack, for example. I don't know if those two go on a TV station and talk about refereeing decisions that happen at the weekend. I don't know if they do it in Spain. I don't know if they do it in France. I don't know if they do it in Italy. I don't know. I don't know if they do. I don't watch that. I don't watch any other kind of league religiously enough like I do with the Premier League to know whether they do or not. I'm just finding it weird that we do over here, but it's all scripted. It's all put to Howard Webb beforehand, and Howard Webb probably gives the presenter his side of the script as well. It all does seem very scripted. It doesn't seem very much off the cuff at all. It doesn't seem very spontaneous. And the lack of challenge is also something to be considered as well. There's a lack of challenge from the presenter. This week it was someone different, but usually it is Michael Owen, and he's about as much fun as watching the grass grow in your garden. So, yes, there is a lot to be discussed there. In regards to this scandal, like I said earlier, we have waited a long time for these two men to come out with their opinions on it. Now, I think Jamie Carragher was drumming it up for more views on the podcast, maybe. I can't really say that's bad or not. Fair play if that's the case. Drumming it up for views and attention, but even so, for basically a 10, 15, maybe even at most 20-minute clip on the whole David Coote thing, didn't exactly it went exactly great. It wasn't exactly a great or even what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, I don't think they went in hard enough on that situation. I think they just briefly touched upon it and went, yeah, we'll bring it up because it's a talking point of the week, and then they just left it. Adrian, how you doing, dude? Nice to see you. How you are well, my friend? You are well indeed. But yeah, in my opinion, for about a 10, 15, 20-minute clip, they did not go anywhere near to the depth that I thought they would, in all honesty. They start off by talking about it, by questioning why the recording exists and things like that nature. Carragher states that he can't referee in the Premier League again, which I absolutely 100% agree with. They make fun of the language that, of course, he used, mainly the C word, and why are you spelling it out? Why don't you just say it? Why are you saying like the whole see you next Tuesday thing? Just say it. Neville says that punishment and suspension would be his way of would be his way of dealing with the situation. Carragher brings up cancel culture and the social media aspect, which he basically said that if a decision does go wrong, then everybody on social media paints it with the same brush and says that all referees are against them, that kind of thing. I think cancel culture was maybe going a bit too far. But the whole social media aspect, Twitter isn't exactly the best when it comes to football fan opinions. I'll just throw that out there. Sorry, X. Still Twitter to me, god damn it. Ian Wright brings up how it's opened the door for biased refereeing to be called into question. And again, that's what I've been saying all week. Biased referee now gets called into question because the likelihood is it's not just David Coote that has these kinds of opinions. I bet every referee does, but it's all about which referees can leave their opinions and beliefs and views at the door, go into a game for 90-odd minutes and go, right, I'm going to be as impartial and as fair and neutral as possible. How many referees can do that? We'll never truly know. Roy Keane, Gary Neville, Jill Scott all think it's extreme for him not to referee in the Premier League again. I don't understand why this is. I really don't understand why this is. Surely with these kind of viewpoints, you can't have him manage a Liverpool game. You can't have him manage another Premier League game just in case it affects Liverpool in some way, shape or form later on down the line. It makes no sense to me. Carragher then says he's caused a problem for the rest of the referees, which again, I think kind of bleeds into Ian Wright's point about how refereeing and their potential biases is called into question, and I completely agree with. Gary Neville says referees tell stories of how they get their own back on players. They'd hold grudges from his time in playing. And, again, I can agree with that. And I would honestly think that may actually play a part in it. And we'll get onto that a little bit later as well. Because he has actually told a story before. And again, we'll get onto that a little bit later. Neville are the worst pundit ever. I wouldn't say he's the worst pundit ever. I would say there are other pundits that are terrible. Mainly Jim when he was on TV, Jermaine Genius. Didn't like him at all. Joe Cole also has his weird moments, but I wouldn't say Gary Neville is the worst pundit ever. I think that may be going a bit too extreme. Probably the worst manager ever. Wouldn't go with pundit. Right, so that's basically the outline of the show. If obviously you want to go and watch it yourself, go and watch it yourself. Obviously find the moment that everybody has been waiting for, kind of thing. But overall, I would say the conversation was more lighthearted than I thought it should have been. The conversation was lacking depth than it should have been. The opening thing of why the recording exists, why is he recording this, kind of, I get, but the priority of that is so far down that it shouldn't have been something that was led with. It shouldn't have been something that opened up the conversation. It should have just been get straight to the point. And, as I know they're not actual journalists, but journalists will always say, like, you get to the point first and then you break it down and you put the least of your priorities towards the bottom, because the attention span of a lot of people is that they only want to know the headline. They only want to know what was said. They only want to know the main juicy part of the story. So why they've led with that, I have absolutely no idea. It's not the main juicy part of the story. The bit why it's recorded should be called into question. I called it into question on Monday. I said, why did he actually record it in the first place? It made absolutely no sense to me. Most of Carragher's views, I will admit, I agree with, in terms of he can't referee in the Premier League again. In terms of obviously, the whole aspect of him affecting Liverpool in some way, shape or form, no matter where he plays. He even suggested maybe he could drop down to the Championship. I don't necessarily think he could lose his job completely on this. He could always still find refereeing gigs wherever. It just might have to be in a lower league. It might just have to be in a foreign country. He could go to Saudi and probably quadruple his wages that he's making over here. Like, if anything, if that were to happen, he probably gets out of this in a better way than he's actually leaving. So that could obviously be a possibility as well. But the main part that I absolutely hated and was so frustrated about when listening to that part of the podcast was the fact that they once again glaze over the xenophobic aspect of Coote's words. They mention the fact he calls him the C word on multiple occasions. They even bring to light or talk about in a light-hearted way the fact that, why do we just call it the C word? Why don't we just say what it actually is? Why do we go with the acronym of see you next Tuesday? Why do we do that kind of thing? And they glaze over it. And Neville's there like, is it really that bad? Is it really that bad that he called him that? Because we all know and we all believe that referees probably hold these kinds of views on people time and time again. We all kind of think that referees will say this and hold their beliefs on people and hold their views on different people and players and managers and coaches and whoever else. And I'm like, as I've said before, it's not the fact that he's called him the C word. It's the fact that he brought his nationality into it. And this, once again, is something that I cannot believe is being just brushed under the carpet by everybody in the media. Everybody has seemingly missed this element. He calls him a German C word. Why does he bring his nationality into it? There is no need, there is no want, there is no reason whatsoever for him to bring the nationality into it. And yet he does, unprovoked. If he just called him the C word, it would be like, fine, he calls him that, whatever. It would still look bad, but it wouldn't be as bad if he hadn't have used his nationality against him. It would still look bad. It would still look bad on Liverpool. There will be questions, but most people would have just swept under the carpet as, oh, it doesn't like Jurgen Klopp. And I imagine a lot of people probably don't like Jurgen Klopp because the kind of character he is and the kind of person he is probably did rile a lot of people up the wrong way. Us as Liverpool fans loved it because he's one of us. He's one of our own. He's obviously brought a lot of success to the club. We love him. But if that manager and that kind of character was to happen to a Man United, if, you know, I'm not saying he is, but if Ruben Amorim turned out to be like Jurgen Klopp, a lot of Liverpool fans would probably hate him because of the kind of character he is, where he riles people up, he gets the blood boiling. I imagine a lot of people would probably use that word to describe Jurgen Klopp, but to bring his nationality into it, brought it to a whole different level. And once again, I can't believe that nobody is talking about it. I think the only person that I've seen talk about it and the views of that person is Simon Jordan. And even then, Simon Jordan did not go into great detail about it. He brought it up, he glazed over it a little bit, and then moved on to the next point. But the fact that nobody is talking about the xenophobic aspect of his words, of his choice of phrasing, it's baffling to me. I don't understand it. I don't get it. And I'm not 100% sure why that is. Why are they protecting it? Why is this not a thing that is being brought to light? Why is it not being talked about? It makes absolutely no sense to me. And not a single one of them on the overlap actually did do that. Jill Scott didn't bring it up. Roy Keane didn't bring it up. Ian Wright didn't bring it up. Not even Jamie Carragher brought it up. Gary Neville didn't bring it up. None of those 5 people that were around the table during that video brought up the fact that it wasn't about him using the C word, which in some cases and for some people is used as a term of endearment. It's like he used the fact that he was German. Makes me think like I'm one of the very few people that's actually heard the clip, like, or actually heard those words, and it's been a different clip for everybody else. Like, I don't know. It just seems very strange to me that that's happened, and no one's kind of picked up on that. It's very, very strange. As I mentioned earlier, Neville tells a story a few weeks ago of how an ex-referee, Graham Poll, carried over previous thoughts and experiences with players that he would use against them in future games. He actually told that story on the same podcast platform in I think Howard Webb was a special guest. He said that. He said that he knows for a fact referees do that. And it's been incredible this week that in the aftermath of this whole David Coote situation, video clips have resurfaced, been brought out about referees abusing their position of power. you had that from Gary Neville about Graham Poll. You had certain other stories about how referees would turn against clubs if their fan bases didn't like them. You'd have stories of Mike Dean allegedly not sending a referee over to a monitor to rectify a decision because he'd already had a very rough game and didn't want to make it any harder on him. Absolute ridiculousness. You had Danny Simpson come out and say that a referee didn't send off a Leicester City player because the referee wanted Leicester to go on and win the Premier League title during that incredible and phenomenal Leicester City triumphant season. It's incredible to me. This is incredible. And it's like, it's nothing that like a drunken fan at a pub would say. It's nothing that a mad guy on social media with a tinfoil hat wouldn't say. But now there's more substance to these accusations. There's more substance to these to these potential stories. When you hear things that are coming out like this every single time, or more and more so in recent years, when you see videos like this surface, it makes it does call everything into question. It does call the integrity of the game into question. It does call whether or not referees can leave their views and their biases and all things like that at the door, because they're meant to. They're meant to be as neutral and as impartial for 90 odd minutes as they can. And yet with stories like this coming out frequently, whether it is about Liverpool, whether it is about Arsenal, whether it's about Leicester, whether it's about Spurs, Chelsea, Manchester United, Manchester City, whoever, Wolves, Nottingham Forest, it doesn't matter who it's about. These referees are now being called into question. And it might not just be David Coote. Some of them might be able to be like, I don't like this team, but you know what? I'm not going to let that affect my judgment today. Maybe on some level, I know some games, maybe David Coote didn't feel that way either. Maybe it was a subconscious thing that David Coote felt, which is why Liverpool fans have been going through the archives and digging up where David Coote was officiating for Liverpool games and going, well, the Martin Odegaard handball, David Coote was on VAR that day. The Jordan Pickford leg break on Virgil van Dijk, guess who was on VAR that day? David Coote. It opens up a whole can of worms, which is what I have been saying all this time. It opens up a whole can of worms. It adds more substance to all of these stories that have been going around for a long time, but never had any weight behind them until now, until all of this has blown up, until all of these videos and things have resurfaced. The Danny Simpson one especially is baffling because he's just laughing about it, because obviously he won a Premier League title out of it. And as incredible as what it was, how angry must you feel as a Spurs fan? I know Spurs eventually finished third that season, but let's face it, the title race was seemingly between Leicester and Tottenham that season, no matter how realistic you thought Tottenham's chances were, how realistic you thought it would be after the Battle of the Bridge and all that kind of thing. But even so, how riled up must you be that a decision like that went for Leicester against the team that Leicester were playing during that game? I'm not 100% sure who it was, but also could have affected your own title race. Like, it's incredible to think that these things happen and how different things could look if referees just were impartial, neutral, and just let their biases aside for 90 odd minutes. And that's why everything is called into question. I question why we even know the names of these pricks. I really, really do. I don't. Why is it I know the names of so many referees down the years? Whether it had been Howard Webb, whether it had been Andre Mariner, Mike Dean, David Coote, obviously, John Moss, and so many others. Why is it I know the names of those pricks? I don't pay money to Sky or BT or TNT now or Amazon or even the average match daying fans doesn't pay money to go and see these referees. They go to see their teams. They go to see their players. They go to see their journey of a season play out before their very eyes. And yet, every single week, we get more and more referees that are under the spotlight like this. And their names are brandished around. And they're becoming more and more like their own kind of celebrity. A referee, in my opinion, should be a nameless guy that is completely impartial, that is completely fair for 90 odd minutes and judges the game to the best of his integrity and to the best of his ability. I'm not saying he's going to get everything perfect. I'm not saying he's going to get everything right, because if he did, I'd be accusing that guy of being some sort of alien or some sort of robot. I'm not saying he should get everything right. I'm not saying he should get everything correct and spot on. But what I am saying is that he should be able to leave whatever views and biases he has at the door and be fair and neutral for 90 minutes of a game. That's just my personal opinion on that refereeing situation. And I gotta say, it's crazy to think that Sky especially and Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher had just brushed over this like it was pretty much nothing. Gary Neville's response of why should he be sacked is baffling, when clearly he skipped the language used by David Coote in that situation. And I don't think they went into depth enough. And why did they not go into enough depth on the situation? It's because, well, I don't really know fully, to be honest. And again, I would be shouting conspiracy theory completely if I did. But the fact is, well, not the fact is, my opinion is that this notion that has been going around for a while, that the PGMOL and the Sky are pretty much in bed together, has been going around for a while. And with it going around for a while, there's been more and more of these sort of things go on. More and more of these things happen. And we're starting to really carry this idea that this is actually real. That Sky is actually a PR merchant for the PGMOL. Like I say, Howard Webb doing his little show every international break about certain referee decisions. I'm not 100% sure if they do that in other countries. I'd be lying if I said I did know. I don't know if that is genuine. I don't know if every other league does that. Howard Webb being defended by the likes of Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher when a club wants answers for the incapabilities of PGMOL, their match day officials, their referees, the usage of VAR and that kind of thing. Questions that need to be rightfully answered is instantly shot down by these guys. Why? Because during their playing days, they were all over referees. They were all over shouting at referees. They were all over arguing with referees, calling things a disgrace. We grew up on that. We grew up on Sir Alex Ferguson constantly berating referees. We grew up on, angry players just surrounding referees, chasing them down. And referees back then would somewhat hold their own, it felt like. Certain referees would certainly hold their own and not get too bogged down in the situation. Referees like that today, they don't really do that. They hide. Who remembers, of course, the infamous Chelsea versus Barcelona game? Didier Drogba shouting into the camera, "It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace." And I know that's a Champions League game. And I know there's some controversy surrounding it many, many years later. But even so, referees like that used to just sink or swim. And more times than not, they swam. They overrode that kind of stuff. Referees now, they don't. They don't. They're too well protected, especially in this country. They're too well protected. They make a mistake, and rather than hold their hands up and go, you know what, I got it wrong, they'll let off the hook. For 1 week, you'll have to referee a championship game, but next week, you're back in the fold. Or, like I said earlier, there is a justification as to why he may have been wrong. Even if he was completely wrong, Howard Webb will still do his little show and go, you know what? Actually, you can see why he may have thought that. So we kind of let him off the hook a little bit. It's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy to me that these guys are too well protected. And like I say, we grew up on players doing that. Referees of today would not have survived 20 odd years ago with the likes of Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira screaming in their faces. They wouldn't have survived, and they would have got and you know, they would have got too well protected. They hide behind their cards, they hide behind the PGMOL, they hide behind Howard Webb. And this whole scandal has just basically kicked the door wide open for scandal, for questions, for conspiracies, for things of that nature. I don't know what more there is. I don't know what more there is. Gary Neville called for the referee to be suspended for a little while, face a punishment, face a fine, that kind of thing. It's not enough. It's not enough. Because he also tried to say, well, Jurgen Klopp's not there no more, so why wouldn't they just reinstate him? And I'm like, but he also mentioned Liverpool in the video himself. And the guy who he was with at the end also said that he hates Scousers. Now, whether or not, again, David Coote echoes those views, I'm not sure, but he didn't say anything that kind of said, oh, no, wait a minute. No, we don't, it's not Scousers, it's just Klopp. So we'll never really know. We'll never really know if that is the case. But, yeah, the David Coote situation has been incredible to follow. It's been absolutely phenomenal to follow. My favorite bit of the whole thing was where he tried to say it was a fake. And again, I have to question, how far were they willing to go with that? Because I'm not going to say, like, what's the best way to word this? My thing was, how far were they willing to go with it's a fake? Because I put it into question yesterday, and I said, right, that if it was a fake, there's either two things that have gone wrong, right? That is one, there is a very angry Liverpool fan out there that looks like David Coote and really, really hates him enough to try and bring down his career. So he's gone on and said, you know what, I have a lot of time and effort on my hand. I have a lot of time on my hands today. I'm going to go and make a video to bring down David Coote because I kind of look like the guy and I'm sick of looking like him and I'm sick of people in the street calling me David Coote. So I'm going to go online. I'm going to make a video where I'm under the influence of something, which after yesterday's video, I'm just saying, depends on how long, where I'm clearly under the influence of something. I'm going to make a video in which I basically ruin his career by saying, you know, what I said about Jurgen Klopp, what I said about Liverpool and that kind of thing. Or the second reason is that AI is getting very, very good at making things look like they were shot by a human. Because it's badly filmed. He's in portrait for one. Badly filmed, poorly filmed. It's jiggling about all over the place, the camera. So either AI is getting that damn good, or it is actually human recorded. It's absolutely incredible to me that that was even considered. It was baffling to me that that was even considered to be a thing. And then an hour later, the guy goes, hang on a minute, actually, it was me. A VAR referee changing his mind instantaneously. The quickest changing of a decision he's ever made. That was arguably the best thing about it. But look, there's been so many layers to this story. It's been so interesting to obviously gauge the opinions of everybody online and stuff. And on the situation in general, what should happen next. The thing that I found interesting was the fact that mostly from rival fans, they were sort of like, they sort of agree with Gary Neville. They were like, oh, he's only human. He's allowed to have his own beliefs, thoughts, comments, opinions, whatever on these things. Is it really that bad? Why are Liverpool fans making a bigger deal out of this than what they should? And my argument has always been, it's not just Liverpool fans. Because if what you're saying is true, how do we know the biases don't cross the line from his personal life into his professional life? David Coote's been caught out. And David Coote will, likely now that everything's come out about him, well, we hope that that's everything that there is to come out about him. We don't want anything more. And I think for his own personal well-being as well, we should also now point out, this is not like a witch hunt from me, or shouldn't be considered a witch hunt by anybody. We're just talking about it because it's in the news, it's in the media, it's in the public domain. I know I'm saying that like 47 minutes into the video, but it's obviously worth pointing out that this should not be like some sort of witch hunt or anything like that. He's just a guy that has been caught out. Now, he's been caught out by his own stupid mistakes, and that is completely on him. But he's been caught out. And that's why I say to rival fans that are questioning why that this is only affecting Liverpool, they're making a bigger deal out of it than what they actually should. It should just be brushed under the carpet. It should have a fine, be suspended for like a week or two, and then should be back in the fold very soon. How do we know this doesn't affect other referees as well? How do we not know that? That's my question, because, and it may not just be Liverpool as well, but it could be Arsenal, it could be City, it could be Chelsea, United, Everton, Villa, Spurs, United, Newcastle, Southampton, Leicester, Ipswich. How do we not know this? I mean, Forest brought out that statement last season about how they were annoyed that a Luton Town fan was on VAR for their game. And ironically, that was shut down instantly by the likes of Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher. But about this term of bias, where it's been proven that there may be, even if it's a subconscious level of bias, it's in the public domain now. It took them over 3 days for them to say anything. And even when they did say something, they just brushed over it as if it was very, very minor news. It didn't really matter. This thing happens all the time. Why are we talking about it? That's how they acted in that video, in my opinion. And that's why we shouldn't just let this lie. And this is why we shouldn't just be tribalistic about this. I've been calling for this. Like, don't be tribalistic about it. I sit here as a Liverpool fan, and yes, it's annoying that it's gone against my club. And I can look at certain incidents like what Liverpool fans have and go, well, David Coote was on VAR for this thing and this thing and this thing, and they all went against us. And if they'd have actually gone for us, we could be sat here right now, maybe with another Premier League title. We could be sat here with anything else that could have gone on in those seasons. But I'm also looking at the bigger picture and going, David Coote might not be the only one. And I'm not just talking about videos of their personal life. Look, whatever they do in their personal life is their own thing. Like, I'm not going to start like talking bad about people that do things like that in their personal life. Like, you do you, it's cool. But if there is a potential and a possibility that it affects your judgment in those kinds of scenarios in the job that you're in, if it is possible that it will that it could affect your professional career, then obviously A, you need to seek help, and B, you need to make sure it doesn't. I'm not saying he shouldn't hold the opinions that he does. I'm not saying he shouldn't do the things he does in his own personal life. But if it's going to affect your judgment and your professionalism, at the very least, do not record it and be a moron. Don't record it with friends or people that you think are friends and have the potential of them maybe blackmailing you if things are to be believed. Or just have the threat that they've got it and they could get hacked and it could get released into the public domain at any second. Don't be that moron. Don't let it affect your professional career as well. Because like I say, David Coote might not be the only referee to have these kind of things hidden away. Maybe there is more to come. Maybe there are other videos out there of other referees that are like this. Maybe there are other videos of referees spouting their true beliefs on certain players, certain managers, certain clubs, whatever the case may be. Maybe there are. David Coote's obviously been one that's been pointed out, and he'll be thrown to the wolves. He'll be gone. Especially now that obviously the snorting video has seemingly came out. But just have that consistency for if something else were to happen. And for rival fans that are thinking that Liverpool fans are blowing this out of proportion, for the ones that are prepared to drop their tribalism, like myself and like many others, the bigger picture here is this is not about Liverpool. This is not about Liverpool Football Club, and obviously not as much in a lesser way is it about Jurgen Klopp. It's still about Jurgen Klopp in a big way because obviously he is the subject of the main video, but it's not necessarily about him either. It's about the integrity of the game, that being called into question, and how many referees leave their biases at the door. When they get changed into the referee kit, are they able to go, right, I'm a referee now? I know that I don't like this particular team, but I can't let that affect my judgment today. I've got to call it right the way down the middle, as best as I can, as best as I see fit. I can't just give a penalty to the opposition for the slightest of things that happens in the penalty area. Can they do that? Are they able to do that? Because let's face it, past few years, we've been saying a lot and talking a lot about VAR, about referees, about the PGMOL, about how incompetent they are, about how inconsistent they are. And now that this scandal has come out, we are left with more questions than answers. We are left questioning if these people can be trusted to officiate our game. And if they can't, well, what's the answer? The answer is probably going to lie with foreign referees. And some people may say, well, in the Champions League, they're not that great either. In the Europa League, they're not that great either. They can't be any worse than what we're getting week in and week out. Maybe there has to be a bit of a rotation period. Background check that they're not associated with any of the two teams, check that they didn't grow up watching Liverpool, check that they didn't grow up watching Manchester United, check that they don't have Manchester United memorabilia plastered all over their bedroom wall, that kind of thing, before they referee like a Man United game, for example. Foreign referees is probably the way to go, because there is not that many answers, I don't think, to this situation. But it would be interesting to obviously know Guys, do me a favor, drop a like on the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, like I said earlier, get involved in the chat. Would love to know what you guys are thinking and feeling about this whole scandal, about this whole situation, and about what was said by various pundits, ex-referees, and the like. So please do get involved. Please do hit the subscribe or like button if you haven't already. Would love for that. Love that from you. Would be very much appreciated as always. So yeah, just to round this thing off, we talked about the situation. We've talked about what was being said by various fans, various pundits, various ex-referees. We talked about the stories that have been brought back to life, if you will, in the public domain about these kinds of things happening. Talked about tribalism. Talked about Gary Neville. Talked about Jamie Carragher. And now I'm hoping to put this story to rest because I've made like 3 videos on it now. This will be my 3rd, and this one's technically a live stream. So I'm hoping I can put this one to bed. I'm hoping no more will come out of it. I'm hoping that the right decision will be made on David Coote and in himself as well. Coote will be fine. He'll move on. May seek help because to do these kind of things, maybe he needs to seek help. Maybe the drug and maybe the alcohol maybe is a bit too much, and especially the snorting video as well. Like the snorting video is baffling in itself. Like, I never understand why people video themselves doing that kind of thing. It's strange to me. And like I said earlier, what you do in your personal life is your own business. I don't care what you do in your personal life, as long as obviously it's somewhat legal. It's your own personal life. I mean, I know drugs isn't exactly legal, but at the same time, like, it doesn't affect anyone. You're not harming anyone. You're not hurting anyone. It's fine. Whatever. But if it affects your professionalism, especially in the line of job that you work, that's big. That's huge. And to do it during the European Championships, it's crazy to me. Like, you have been selected by your governing body to represent England at a major tournament in an officiating capacity. Those are the kinds of tournaments where you're meant to send like the best of your best to represent you, whether it be through team, squad, manager, or even officials. You're meant to send the best officials you can to go to that tournament. And the strange and ironic thing is that the main controversies that happened in that European tournament were mainly from English referees, English VAR. The decisions that took the longest were from English referees. The decisions that went wrong were mainly from England referees. And then this story comes out, and you start to understand maybe why. Now, this could have obviously happened after a game that he refereed. But even so, it doesn't seem to me like he was doing that for the first time. It doesn't seem like he was a novice at that. Just saying, maybe it's something that he's done before. How much has he done before? How long has he done it for? I don't know. Does it affect his judgment? Does it affect his professionalism? Do his views, do his opinions, his thoughts, beliefs, did they affect his professionalism? Arguably so. And if that is the case, what about the rest of the referees? Did they feel the same way as him? Did they act the same way as him? Or are they able to actually get on with their job, be neutral, be fair for 90-odd minutes and get as fair an outcome as possible? And anything that does happen that is wrong in the game is just down to human error or human incompetence. Either way, a lot has been opened up about this whole situation, and I don't know, man. It is definitely something that there's so many layers to that I think we all had to kind of talk about and just get out there. And that's mainly the reason why I did this live stream, because there is a lot, and I kind of wanted to just bring it all kind of full circle into this one video. There's obviously a lot of layers here, a lot of things to talk about, and yeah, it just sort of made sense to kind of bring it all here. So very much looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say on it. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the complete fallout of this is, what the end result is, what the verdict is on David Coote. I think we can all hazard a guess that if there was any sort of hope on his part of maybe returning to the Premier League and officiating, yesterday's video that surfaced probably hit the final nail in the coffin and probably killed all hope of him doing that. And I just don't get why that's another thing as well. I don't get why the media are feeling sorry for him either. There's been a lot of media coverage on this, and the media coverage has all been, oh, I feel sorry for David Coote because he made that video in confidence, and the people that have got the video have obviously betrayed him, and you know, it's horrible that this video's been leaked. No. He made that video, and he knew he made the video, and even when he actually admitted he made the video, he basically said, I don't consent to the video being I didn't consent to the video being there. And it's like, well, you did, because in your second video you stated you didn't want the video to go out into the public, and it shouldn't go out into the public. You knew it was there. It's not like it was being secretive or anything. You knew it was there. And yet people in the media are completely ignoring the fact that he called him a German C word, completely ignoring the fact that there is xenophobia in there, completely ignoring the fact that, you know, maybe this could affect other referees who will then affect other teams and clubs in the Premier League, or maybe even further on down the English pyramid of football. They're instead going with this narrative of, oh, poor David Coote. Isn't it horrible the way that people are treating David Coote? Isn't it horrible the way that these private videos got leaked? Isn't it horrible the fact that this guy who's leaked the videos probably got a lot of money from various publications he sold the original video to or whatever? Isn't it horrible that David Coote's friends betrayed him like this? No. For the most part, David Coote made the bed that David Coote is currently lying in. This has got no sympathy written on it whatsoever. And it shouldn't have any sympathy from anyone. He should just lay in the bed that he made. Simple as that. I don't understand why everyone in the media is feeling sorry for him. Have they got videos on them that they don't want to come out, and they're trying to play the sympathy card right now so that when stuff comes out about them, they can also play the sympathy card and not sound hypocritical? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. That's just a guess, by the way. Like, don't come after me for that. That's just a guess. But I honestly don't know. I don't know why the sympathy for David Coote has been so amplified this week. Just because embarrassing and, you know, professionally killing career videos have been leaked into the public domain. The sympathy aspect does not work on me. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. It really, really doesn't. And the fact that the media, and most of them, are literally are literally there, and they're going, "Oh, poor David Coote. His friends have betrayed him. He should need better friends. This David Coote bloke, oh, bless him. I feel really sorry for him. I feel really sorry that these videos have leaked. You know, horrible on David Coote that he has to go through all of this." He made his own bed when either A, he became friends with these people, or B, and the most telling one, he allowed them to video such embarrassing stuff. I have very little to no sympathy for David Coote in this situation. I just hope that he can get the help that he needs. I hope that if the rumors of blackmailing and things like that are true, that this is as bad as it gets, this is as far as it gets, and there is nothing else to come out more that will damage him. I hope that he can just take his medicine, get the help that he needs, and, you know, restart again. I don't necessarily think or want him to, like, or anybody, or to lose their job completely, but he obviously can't be refereeing in the Premier League no more, and that might be the best thing for the Premier League and for David Coote himself. Because if he was to come back, the songs that will be raining down on him from the fans, don't think he'd be able to handle it. And as we know, these referees like to have their hand held and guided through certain things. Mike Dean saying that he didn't want to send a referee over to a monitor to rectify a decision shows you that referees need their hand held in certain situations, that they can't stand on their own 2 feet like they would have had to have done 20 odd years ago, which was my point initially, that referees back then could stand on their own 2 feet and could swim with footballers that were chasing them around the pitch and arguing and yelling at them. Referees of today wouldn't do that. Mike Dean didn't even want to send somebody over to a monitor to rectify a decision that ultimately would have led him to come to the right decision, and therefore wouldn't have got abuse from fans. The fact is, anyway, if you're a referee, you're gonna get on the wrong side of at least one set of a fan base. Not everybody in that particular fan base, but certain sections of that fan base are going to be annoyed and angry with you. But as long as you can actually be justified in your actions and say, yes, I came to this decision because X, Y, and Z, most of that fan base that you went against will actually agree with you and will hold their hands up and go, you know what? You're 100% right. You were right to give that red card to our player. You were right to give us, or to award the opposition a penalty against us. I get it. Referee's a hard job. But if you can't handle it, take yourself out of the profession. You don't need your hand held by VAR. You don't need your hand held by ex-referees that still call you friends and colleagues. You don't need your hand held by Howard Webb. You need to be able to learn to stand on your own 2 feet in a very hostile atmosphere that ultimately you'll earn a lot more respect for giving the right decisions than you would if you didn't. Than you would if you were having your hand held by referees that are like, oh, you've had a really tough game. I'm not going to let you go to the monitor. I'm just going to let you do whatever you want to do. Oh, you've had videos leak about you. I'm very sorry to hear that. That's so sad. It's so sad that you've had those videos leak about you. I don't stop the sympathy. Stop this feeling sorry for them. They made their own bed. They should lie in it. just deal with it. Just absolutely deal with it. And like I say, David Coote should have to lie there and deal with it, but I hope he gets the help that he seemingly so desperately needs. I hope he comes out of this, rectifies what he's done, and goes on to referee if that's what he wants to do and remain in the job in a different league, in a maybe in a different country. And as far as the PGMOL goes, we'll finish on this. Howard Webb has been left with egg completely on his face with this whole thing. And now the level of trust between fans, clubs, players, managers, and the referees is at an all-time monumental gap. It's like the Grand Canyon between them being reunited, the two factions being reunited. Howard Webb's got a massive job on his hands. And we know he's not going to resign. He probably should resign, but we know he's not going to, even though he seems incapable of doing this kind of job. He's got a monumental job on his hands to bridge that gap. The two factions are on different time zones. They're probably on two different planets with how big the gap is between fans, managers, clubs, teammates, squad players, whatever, and referees. And this has just widened that gap. This whole scandal has certainly, in my opinion, widened that gap of trust. Because although it's David Coote that's being thrown under the bus right now, we don't know for sure if everybody else feels the same way. We don't know if everybody else can remain impartial for 90-odd minutes. And the scrutiny that referees and officials are already coming under so far this season, from last season as well, is only going to get more and more put under the microscope as we go on. When club football resumes next week, you best believe fans are going to be on referees. They're going to be on them, even more so than what they actually are. And referees will only have David Coote and Howard Webb to thank for that. Anyway, I've been rambling on now for almost an hour and a quarter. Jesus Christ, I've been rambling on for a while. Just so much to just talk about, so much to get off my chest, and so much to kind of just hopefully package up. I don't really want to be speaking more about this scandal unless more obviously comes out, in which case I will. But hopefully this is the last I say of this kind of scandal and this kind of thing that's happened. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in, taking time out your day to watch whatever part you watched or whatever, or just still here, whatever the case may be. Thank you all so much for watching, for listening, for contributing. Still keep doing that stuff, guys. It is very much appreciated by me. Thank you for your support. It is very much appreciated, whether it be brand new or whether it be continued. It is very much appreciated. It's very much awesome, and I love you all to pieces. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always incredibly greatly appreciated. Thank you for everybody that's been watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks live stream, and I will see you and speak to you all again soon in a video, live stream, or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you again very, very soon.